Welcome to 12-Minute HR Lesson. Today, we're talking about redemption. We're talking about, can someone come back from a bad space to a good space? There's lots of examples in literature of characters who stray but return. The question of what triggered and how did they walk it is so interesting. And it's so relevant to any question that you have when it comes to disciplinary or performance, or any time someone is heading off in the wrong direction. How do you get them back on track? Curious? Let's go. You may have noticed from other podcasts that I'm a little bit guilty of overthinking things, of trying to peer behind the curtain to see the mechanics and the man behind. It's true, it can make me insufferable, but I don't know, it's something I find interesting. I want to know the whys and the wheres and the hows. But also it helps me know what I like. One of my favourite arcs in any form of fiction is a redemption arc. And I want to talk about that because it's really interesting. I love a good redemption arc. A redemption arc is where someone has fallen and he or she is redeeming themselves. Villains who, they're not entirely villainous. They have a good side, and that good side finally comes through in the end. It's why Darth Vader saving Luke in the end partially redeems him for all the things that he did, but on the other hand also why in episode 3 has to go murder all the children. It says Anakin is fallen. So far he cannot redeem himself. And in episode 6, it's not a full redemption, it's a partial redemption. He still dies, he doesn't deserve to live, but his death serves something. There's other examples I can point to, other examples where the whole movie actually is a redemption arc of our main character, who is not a terrible and inevitably awful person, but has to go through a journey to become a good person at the end. Groundhog Day is actually a redemption story of Bill Murray's character, who has to improve himself from the vain, arrogant, narcissistic person that he was. My apologies, but a quick interruption for an ad about our company and our services. Pragmatic HRM is primarily an HR training organization. These podcasts are essentially samples, teasers, small ways in which we help you improve your thinking about how you approach HR. Our courses are that but much larger, designed not just to tell you what to do, but how to think about and understand the fundamental questions that HR has to deal with all the time as people SMEs. To give an example of one of the courses that is relevant, in our manager series, we talked about talent planning, the process by which an organization looks through its people and says, who's ready now? And how do we make sure we have pipelines of supply and demand lining up to make this most effective? Primarily, we work through webinars. These can either be done live and online, but alternatively, if the timing just doesn't suit you, you can also access these recorded on demand at your convenience for a lower price. So have a look at pragmatichrm.nz for how we can help. So I want to talk to you about this question of redemption, because at Pragmatic HRM we get lots of different types of cases, and this is often an underlying question. Is there a pathway of redemption back for the person? Have they gone so far that they can't get themselves back into good graces? Anakin murdering all the younglings at the Jedi Academy, he's beyond redemption. He cannot get himself back. Bill Murray, being a prick, that's something you can come back from. You can grow into a better person. So that's what I want to talk to you about today. The question we are often asking is, what have they done? And is it redeemable? Is there a pathway to redemption? And is the relationship redeemable? Sometimes it's clear, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's irredeemable. This is somewhat controversial, but generally my position on theft is there is no pathway to redemption. There is nothing that you can do or say that means an employer could or should fairly trust you. But that's a topic for another day. When you're dealing with a situation and it's reasonably clear what's happened, the only variable that you need to work out is, what are they going to do from here? What do they want to do? Are they going to fight? Are they prepared to change? Ask yourself, what is the redemption pathway for this person? Think of Groundhog Day. You might need to go back and watch Groundhog Day. You might need to look at the Wikipedia article. It was a guy stuck in purgatory who couldn't figure out what he needed to do. That's what Groundhog Day was, a guy stuck in the same situation, trying various different things to get out. And there was a pathway for him to get out of being stuck in that day. And by the end of it, he found out what it was. And that's essentially what the movie is. What is his pathway to being released from purgatory? What was his redemption arc? The question that we are often looking at is, has this person or will this person redeem themselves? Do they believe what they have done is wrong? A redemption doesn't start until it becomes internal. Bill Murray doesn't get out of Groundhog Day by just going through the motions. Darth Vader doesn't realize he's the bad guy until he sees his son being fried by lightning. Oh, I'm the bad guy. It's not until the penny drops that redemption can start. And that is the question. How do you make that penny drop? Identifying what the pathway is, what the change is that would get them to redemption really gets us a long way. You also find yourself asking the question, are they going to take it? I've recently published an article on swearing. Most of the time what we're trying to say to people is, the language that you're using in the workplace is unacceptable. That's your pathway to redemption. Don't swear in the workplace. Don't toss your toys. Don't have tantrums. But that's only half the equation. The other half of the equation is, once you put that to this person, hey, look, you now know the way that you talk in the workplace is not acceptable. The other half of that process is whether or not that person internalizes that, changes their patterns of behavior, and acts differently in the future. You have laid out the pathway of redemption for them, but it's up to them as to whether or not they walk it. So what do I want you to do? The key question point that I want you to identify next time you're in this situation, whether or not you're an ER person or an HR generalist, once in a blue moon, or either all the time, some of the time, or not very often, something will come in which someone has done something stupid, or they continue to do stupid things. This relationship is going pear-shaped. And it's not us, it's them. Ask yourself, what is the redemption situation? What is our happy place with this person? It may not exist, and you have to accept that. If there is a possibility that things could work out okay with this one, that things could work out, you need to take steps to make it easy for that person to walk that path. Avoid putting an obstacle in their way of doing that. And this is where it gets slightly patronizing. You have to avoid accidentally triggering a fight or flight response. Nothing burns a good redemption arc like someone getting their back up or someone just saying sorry because that's the right thing to say. If you want that person to be redeemed and you want that person to keep working for you and you want this relationship to be productive, you need to find the way for them to internalize the lesson that they need to learn for this working relationship to be productive and mutually beneficial for the future. But before you go, I'm going to put a union official in the corner here. What would they say? They would say, this is pretty patronizing. You're assuming that you're right and they're wrong. You're assuming you're the one being reasonable and they're the one being unreasonable. And that's entirely possible. I don't know your circumstances. I'm talking to a situation, a hypothetical in which I'm stacking the deck to say we are entirely right and we are entirely without blame. Now that may not be true, and don't always assume that you are right. All I would say is don't accidentally find yourself in a lose-lose situation, because that person could walk the path back to redemption, but you put a rock in the way, or you made that a hard path to walk, and the easier and more emotive part for them to walk was to be angry. The hardest part of this episode was cutting out all of the redemption arcs that I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about Snape. I wanted to talk about Jean Valjean and Jaime Lannister, and there's just so many good stories of people who were almost irredeemable and sort of come back or do come back, and the further they've gone, the harder that journey, and if the writer shortcuts how implausible it is, there's so much to talk about the question of redemption arcs but I couldn't tackle it all. Anyway, thank you for listening. We do a lot of training on disciplinaries. We do a lot of training about making difficult decisions around difficult allegations. Please check out our courses at pragmatichrm.nz or contact us if you need specific help. Even if you want to talk through a case, it's not a problem, we can help. Otherwise, please share our podcast. Please get us out there. Any small click button you can push anywhere that gets us in the ears of someone who we can help, even if they're only listening to, the more the merrier. Happy for you to help us out. But otherwise, we'll catch you next time.